Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar titled The Top 10 Reasons Teams Deploy Data Center Infrastructure Management, TikTok Edition. My name is Mark Idos, I'm Chief Marketing Officer at Inlight Software. I'd like to thank you for the time you're going to be spending with us. So what does TikTok Edition mean? We're going to be conveying all the information we'd normally do in a webinar, but we're going to kind of use the style of TikTok. And that's going to include quick videos, fast-paced, no section should go over a minute, and we might even have some dancing in there. So where this idea came from, I kind of tossed it out to the marketing team, and they all kind of kiboshed it, said, oh, it's kind of corny, and I thought, I'm going to do it anyway. So this is the result. I hope it's informative. I hope it's also enjoyable, and we're going to go pretty fast and furious through this. So here we go.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Nothing else matters, not the mortgage, not the store, not my team.
So the first reason why teams deploy data center infrastructure management is really for superior asset management, really to maximize the production value of their assets over time, really to manage the entire doc to decom lifecycle of assets. Some organizations have tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars invested in these assets, and they want to understand what assets they have, where they're physically located, what groups do they belong to, how they're interconnected with varying systems and how they sort of interplay with one another. You might need to provide asset information to an audit team who wants to know where the assets are and when and who might have touched them. And typically, this is far superior than using spreadsheets, which typically we're brought in at Inlight Software to replace, because spreadsheets are static and out of date the moment you update them, rather than having a collaborative system like a DCIM solution to consistently use and keep information up to date on assets. The next reason we're going to highlight why teams use DCIM is really for capacity management. They want to really understand and optimize how they're using space, energy, cooling, and asset utilization, really with the benefits of identifying current usage and future needs. They want to balance resources across the entire computing infrastructure, be able to make strategic decisions on current and future placement of applications. And ultimately, they don't want to run out of capacity. Capacity could mean space, could mean power, cooling. In some cases, in older buildings, it can often mean weight. So again, making sure you have enough capacity to take care of today's needs and future needs, because the last thing you want to do is run out of key resource and be behind the curve on the demands of the business. I was talking to some of the people over at Facebook about what DCIM meant to them, and this was their main one: power management, right? There are lots of angles about power management: cost savings, risk mitigation, energy capacity planning, identifying ghost and zombie servers. It really can be a lot of different things, but it's about monitoring and managing power to see potential issues, see troubling trends, do branch circuit monitoring, power failure simulation and prevention. There are a lot of angles, but it's really about managing more tightly the power and cooling often that's going on in your data centers, really to reduce cost and to really avoid potential downtimes from either power outage or not having capacity for the future needs of your organization. The seventh reason why teams deploy DCIM is really for automation, and it's a thread that occurs throughout DCIM. And if you use sort of good hygiene of DCIM in general, you get a lot of automation, sort of repeatability. You have the software help you perform your tasks easier. You can do auto discovery to see what particular network ports are actually being used versus what is available, taking assets as they appear, discover them, and automatically populating them into the DCIM solution, being able to reduce the time it takes people to find issues using a certain level of automation. Again, the whole goal is to make it easier for people to do their jobs, thus more efficient, and really automate and make repeatable or consistent how people are managing their data center assets, either in a data center facility or in a co-location facility. Number 6 is one we see consistently with teams deploying DCIM. They want cost savings. And this one's out there for all the bean counters. There are a lot of ways that DCIM helps create cost savings, and again, it's a consistent thread. You'll see that a properly managed data center with good sort of DCIM hygiene will ultimately generate cost savings, from reduced costs in power and cooling used to more efficient use of assets. In some cases, you can completely avoid or delay entire investments in new data centers. Additionally, when you're helping people to do their jobs faster, you're indirectly also reducing labor costs. So you're making it easier for people to perform tasks. They take less time. You ultimately save costs. So whether it's personnel costs or less use costs for assets or resources like power and cooling, there's a lot of savings you get by deploying DCIM and using it consistently.
What is going to happen, Dave?
Something wonderful.
I'm afraid.
Don't be.
Don't be afraid. We're halfway there. Here's number 5. Number 5 reason teams deploy DCIM is to focus on sustainability. There's a greater focus on climate change, especially with the ever-increasing footprint that data centers are taking from an energy perspective. So companies are really looking at how they can reduce that energy footprint and show progress towards continually improving their efficiency. And this is going beyond the old metrics of PUE, but starting to understand deeper, what are the applications doing? You could have a very efficient data center, but it's not really doing anything. Thus, you'd be wasting that energy. So there's much a greater focus on actually on the workloads and what applications are running, what particular parts of the data center. You could increase the temperature to, again, reduce the overall energy footprint. Number 4 is risk mitigation. And risk mitigation is one of those concepts that can take many forms because there are different types of risk in the data center. Power outages, running out of capacity, cyber threats, personnel making mistakes. In a sense, DCIM forces consistent processes, which is just general good data center hygiene, which helps mitigate risk in general. And with that consistency, you avoid outages. Good power and cooling monitoring helps also reduce outages. So overall, DCIM really helps mitigate risk across the line by just having good processes, consistent fashion of how things are done, having workflow tell employees what tasks they need to perform. Also, this helps reduce risk and avoid unintended consequences of not managing your infrastructure tightly enough, especially if you incorporate things like discovery to see if there are some abnormal changes occurring in the data center that weren't originally planned. This third one is ITSM integration, which is very common for many of our customers. Many organizations integrate DCIM with their ITSM systems, whether it's ServiceNow or HP or BMC or any of the other ITSM systems. And there are really 2 reasons for this. One is to keep their CMDBs up to date with the physical information about their assets. This way, anyone having to deal with actual assets has current information about those assets, location, and the systems they're interconnected with. Second is to integrate these changes into the ITSM change management processes. In this way, ITSM gains visibility of the changes that are occurring in assets and resources within the data center or any other physical facilities that support the applications that ITSM is supporting. The second to the last reason why teams deploy DCIM is for macro issues such as migration, consolidations, and tech refresh. This is again supporting what we refer to as the doc to decom asset lifecycle within a data center, whether an organization's migrating from one facility to another or they're consolidating data centers. They might be acquire a new company and consolidate that data center into their own, or doing tech refresh, again related to sustainability. A lot of organizations are doing tech refresh to see which assets that are older that they can replace with newer, more energy efficient assets to reduce their carbon footprint. And here we come to number 1, the number 1 reason why teams deploy DCIM.
Dude, where's my car? Where's your car, dude? Dude, where's my car? Where's your car, dude?
So all joking aside, the number 1 reason teams deploy DCIM is understand where's my stuff? And usually they use a much more colorful word than stuff. And it's important because it underpins everything going on in the data center. ITSM sometimes needs to know where physically things are located. They need to know the dependencies, the resources being used. Sometimes you need to provide this information to auditors who want to understand where assets physically located, who's touched them, are they allowed to touch those particular assets? And sometimes the chief financial officer, the accounting organization wants to know, where did the last set of servers go? If you're dealing with any of the topics we've talked about earlier, capacity management, asset management, understanding where your assets are is critical to being to efficiently handle these types of questions and being able to efficiently plan for the future. As promised, we kept that fast and furious. We hope you enjoyed the video and it was informative. If you have any feedback about whether you enjoyed that TikTok version of a webinar, let us know. We look forward to seeing you on future webinars at Enlight. And now the ending Enlight video, which I never quite understand what it means, but I love it.